believe this ball game at Shea.
Oh, brother.
3-2 to Mookie Wilson. Little roller up along first. Behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win it.
Glinchey staring in, has his sign. A 2-1 pitch. And a drive in the air to deep right field. That ball headed toward the wall. That ball is out of here! Out of here! A game-winning grand slam home run off the bat of Robin Ventura. Ventura with a grand slam. They're mobbing him before he can get to second base. The Mets have won the ball game. Ventura.
Lopez wants it away.
And it's hit deep to left center. Andrew Jones on the run. This one has a chance. Home run! Mike Piazza, and the Mets lead 3-2.
How is New York going to get out of this guy? Their captain, David Wright. He's had the bad back. He's got spinal stenosis. Played less than 40 games in the regular season. It's a cold night. High fly ball to left. Back at the wall, and the captain's going deep to the wall.
It'll be a problem on and off the rest of the season. Turner drives one to center, chasing Nimmo back to the warning track right at the fence. He made the catch! Oh, wow! The catch of the year from Brandon Nimmo! He took a home run away from Justin Turner!
Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
And welcome to episode number 2 of the Shea Hello podcast. I am Casey Lynn, the founder and president of Shea Hello Media, and I am welcomed by my co-host here for episode number 2, former Met, Bill Pulsipher. How you doing, Bill?
I'm good, Casey. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay as well.
Good.
So in our first episode, I touched upon a lot of things in Mets land, kind of overview of Shea Hello. Hopefully people that are listening now tuned into episode 1. And here they are watching us and on YouTube and on wherever they might be listening, on Spotify or wherever they get their podcasts. But episode 1 was a rundown of Shea Hello Media and also what in the world is going on in Metsland. So we have Bill Pulsipher, the co-host of Shea Hello, the Shea Hello podcast. So we'll go right into it, if you don't mind, Bill.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Just gonna sounds good to me. So I talked about in episode 1, and I'd like to get your thoughts and opinions about this. We'll start off with, how in the world did the Mets get to this point? A favorite to win the World Series in the beginning of the year to, 11, 10 games under 500 to sellers.
Well, obviously things have not gone according to plan. Starting from the very beginning, spring training, losing Diaz right away before they even played a game or threw a pitch or anything like that was a devastating blow to the team. It moves everybody up or back, however you want to look at it, in the bullpen, and then obviously a free agent signing and Quintana being injured right away, not being ready to or able to perform right away. That's one of your starting pitchers you were counting on. Verlander, obviously coming out of spring training, injured as well. There's another injury. Just there's been a multitude of things for them to get to this point. And saying favorite for the World Series, that's easy to say. I mean, that's a lot harder to do, obviously. But I know there was a lot of optimism this year for the ball club. And just things did not go according to plan. I mean, if you look at my Twitter at night, like I know some people do, the blue jerseys might have something to do with it. I don't know why they're wearing those, but
You're all about those blue jerseys, yeah.
well, I'm all about not them, actually, to be honest with you. And they wore them again
No,
last
well,
night.
that's what I
Yeah,
meant.
I don't.
Yeah,
No, I know what you meant. But
yeah,
I don't know. There's a multitude of things. Obviously, injuries and then lack of performance. I think there's a lot of guys that care on that roster. You look at McNeil and Lindor and Alonso and those guys. I think they care an awful lot and they want to win and they want to get it done. So the amount of pressure that they put on themselves has probably hurt their performance a little bit this year as well. Feeling like they had to make up for some of the injuries and make up for just a multitude of things, and it just has not gone according to plan at all.
yeah. I mean, highest payroll ever in Major League Baseball history, but as we've seen, it doesn't mean jack crap.
Yeah, well,
You got to play the games.
yeah,
And
the game's not played by money. The game's not played by paychecks, or it's played by the people that are out there. And this goes through. I follow football, soccer quite a bit, and you have teams like Manchester United who spend all kinds of money, and they haven't won an EPL championship in years. So it's not necessarily the amount of money
right.
that you throw out there, but obviously for the fans, and then the expectations. They rise with the more money that you do spend on your ball club. Obviously, I think, but I said, losing Diaz at the beginning of the year is tough. Verlander came around before he got traded. I don't think he was healthy when he first came out there and struggled and had a hard time getting through 5 innings and seemed like he had a hard time getting his arm loose. He was giving up so many runs early in games. And then just lack of underperformance with the bats, man. I mean, these 220 batting averages and that. I know people will try to tell you the batting average doesn't matter, but I don't believe that for a minute, because hitting is contagious. And the more people you put on base, the more pressure you put on base pitchers. The all or nothing approach is not a good approach as a former pitcher, because it makes it much more difficult when you're pitching with traffic on base on a regular basis, runners on first and second, runners on first and third. I think that, I don't know if the approach has changed. I don't know if just the amount of pressure the guys have put on themselves, but guys that need to be 265 to 285 hitters hitting in the 220s it's not a recipe for success.
Pit of my stomach feel that everything just kind of was gonna be one of those seasons. I never thought it'd be a season like it's turned out to be, never in my wildest dreams, but it's like the energy that he brought, and more specifically, the bullpen. Robertson was going to be the setup man.
Right.
Ottavino and Raley were going to do their 7th and 8th, and it's a trickle down effect. So everybody's job now is, moved up. But the energy that he brought, and I showed this on episode 1, here's Edwin, and, they're making bobbleheads with him, and they got the song, the Narco Timmy trumpet, it was an event,
Absolutely,
when he would come out. And in the 9th, it was electric at Citi Field, and people are going crazy. And then he would just strike out the side. I mean, in 2022, he had video game numbers. So I guess my question to you, I think it's self-explanatory that the bullpen obviously was affected, but Robertson did a great job for the Mets, and Raley's had a great year too. Ottavino's been up and down. The energy before the season with losing Diaz, as a former baseball player, and I don't know if you've ever experienced this with, a top superstar on a team, whether it doesn't even matter, big leagues or not. He goes out before the season. Does that just take out a lot of the air in the balloon?
Well, I know that everybody likes to say, next man up, and that is definitely the case. Next man up, because the games are still going to be played, and you got to go out there. But he is obviously an integral part to the ball club and to the organization. And from the woes that he kind of went through when he first came over to what he ended up turning into, who he really is last year, obviously a lot of hope and expectations for knowing that if we get to the 9th inning, or the back part of the 8th inning with a lead, there's a real good chance we're going to win a ball game. I think it may put a little bit more pressure on the bats, feeling like they have to score more runs to maybe not be in as many safe situations. I mean, I wouldn't think that it's something that presses on the players' minds all that much outwardly, but maybe inwardly they kind of feel, that need to score a few more runs. And then obviously the trickle down effect to the bullpen, because you have things kind of set up, and that's just the way bullpens work nowadays, is these are your innings, these are his innings, that's his inning, that it just, it does make it that much more difficult. Obviously the starting pitchers struggling at times this season to get through 5 innings into the 6th and 7th inning makes it even that much more difficult for the bullpen when you're missing one of your main guys, because they're having to go out on a more regular basis, maybe too many nights in a row or not enough rest in between. So then they're not going to be as successful and as healthy and ready as they can possibly be with the allotted rest that you would hope for them to get. So I'm sure it took a lot out of the guys, because you're talking about the premier closer in the game being out there. You're not talking about, okay, we got a closer, some guy. He's not just some guy. He's obviously somebody that the team relies on. And like you said, he's going to go out there and pretty much have a good chance of striking out the side a lot of the nights. It puts a lot more pressure on everybody.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you said, and you even brought up a great point. It not only put more pressure on the bullpen, losing the best closer in baseball, but everybody else was affected, because the mindset is we always have this guy, waiting in the wings, and now we don't.
Right.
And it puts maybe subconsciously a little more pressure on the hitters, the
I
starting pitchers, middle relievers. So,
would think so. I don't think
it
they
was a
would
say
say
deal.
that maybe. I don't think they would say that outwardly or
Right.
anything, but I think that maybe subconsciously that little bit of knowing, man, if a 2-run lead might not be that safe, or a 3-run lead, we're not quite safe, let alone just knowing that with the 1-run lead, we had a really good shot every night, that maybe just that much more pressure. And like I said before, these guys care. They care a lot, and we like to bag on them as fans and that, but I don't think it's due to lack of effort or lack of wanting or lack of caring. I think they care a lot. I think that they put a lot of pressure on themselves, and then a lot of pressure was put on the organization with Mr. Cohen coming over and spending a lot of money and saying we're going to be, looking for a World Series in 3 years. That's really easy stuff to say, man. It's really hard stuff to do.
He gambled about, paying aging veteran pitchers who are first ballot Hall of Famers. No question
Absolutely.
about that.
Yep.
But older, and the gamble didn't really pay off. Scherzer's overall numbers, they were good. I touched upon this, in episode 1, but under the bright lights, he did not pitch well. Atlanta
He definitely
series
struggled.
last year to Clint. So yeah,
I would have liked
your thoughts on Verlander.
Okay, I would. I believe that he was not healthy when he first came back pitching in the major leagues this year. Probably rushed back a little bit too soon. Wasn't quite healthy. Rounded into form and was showing you that even at 40 years old, he still has the ability to pitch at a top level in the major leagues. And look, man, that could happen. It could be next off season into next year where it goes away. It could be 3 years from now. Who knows? Because baseball's a strange game where 1 year you could be, oh, he's still got it. And then within a 5-month period, going back to spring training, you just don't have it anymore. And I do think he still has it. I kind of do wish they would have kept him around, especially if you're going to be trying to kind of rebuild your rotation, at least to have his experience and his knowledge around, I think would have been a good thing. Not sure why they did trade him. Not sure why they trade anybody, because that's that's not my business. But he's the one that I felt like I would have liked to have kept him around. Not that I wanted to see Max leave either, but it's going to be tough. They got to replace.
We all know what happened.
Starting pitching.
Verlander, to me, it was not only was he pitching well when he got traded, it was the fact that they say that they're going to contend next year. It just won't be, like we're used to. There's no way in hell Steve Cohen is not going to build at least a competitive team. My
I
motto
agree.
has always been, even last year, this year, but get in to the dance, 6 spots in the NL, get in, be hot, be healthy. It's not that hard.
Yeah,
And especially with
I don't think.
Cohen's capital, it shouldn't be.
I think he's still going to
It
try his
was
very
this year,
best.
but
Yeah,
um,
I I think he'll definitely try his best to put the best ball club out there that he possibly can. I think that having Quintana all year long, he's a very solid pitcher. I don't know how many people know much about him, but I've had a chance to watch him pitch over the years. He's a solid pitcher, very good pitcher. Hopefully, he can help somebody like Peterson
yeah.
as a fellow lefty. You would hope that having Verlander around would have been able to help McGill out a little bit. But now, hey, you're back to building blocks again, and hopefully they can score another solid starting pitcher out there, if not two of them, and see what happens.
Well, to put a bow on Verlander, I just not so much that he started the pitch very well. He needed time with the arm injury, and then he went back into the more Verlander that we know. And then obviously he was traded. I agree with you 100%. It's more for the veteran presence that he brought.
I agree.
Now, as constructed in 2023, the Mets don't have that quote unquote veteran guy. So that's
Yes.
my biggest gripe. So putting that aside, here's my take on the deadline, and I want to get your take on it as well. The
Okay.
Mets didn't necessarily have to sell. They could have stood pat, maybe upgraded a bullpen arm or two. And I always said during this year, if they were 5 games behind of the last wild card spot come the trade deadline, you're still in it with 60 plus games to go, whatever it was. But Steve Cohen saw it the other way, and he said, "We're not going to win a World Series this year. We have no farm system," and he did what he did. I give a lot of credit to Steve Cohen for doing it. I'm sure he didn't want to do it with all the money that A, he spends, and B, he's eating. He's paying $90 million alone
Yeah.
in dead money for Scherzer and Verlander to pitch for another team. But they restocked their farm system in 5 days. They went from
Yes.
bottom 5 to top 10. They got very good players back for all their trades. So I just wanted to get your take on his decision to do that. You can't be half pregnant, either all in, all out, or play it out. And a lot of fan
Yeah.
bases are upset about teams that just stood pat. Yankees are
Right.
saying fire Cashman. Padres didn't do anything. Boston didn't do anything. Fans are not happy. At least the Mets have made a decision, implemented it, and have a future and a plan. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on, Cohen's decision and everything like that.
Yeah, I think that it's definitely not what us as Met fans we're hoping for, to dismantle the team like this. But I do recall earlier in the year Cohen talking about the lack of depth in the minor league system and wanting to develop guys. So obviously, having the more talent you have, the easier it is to develop guys. It's you can't develop non-talented players, and talented players can quote unquote be so-called developed without even being developed just because they're talented. I think that hopefully the return in a couple of years pays off. Little bit redundant with positioning of guys that play positions that are already positions that are taken at the big league level, but that doesn't mean that those guys are necessarily going to be there in a couple of years or however long it may be, or that the guys that they got are going to stay in those positions that they're playing right now. But I guess we'll use Mauricio as an example. If you're going to be thinking about changing positions, you might want to do it sooner rather than later, because I think that's a big reason why he hasn't been up here this year, is because he plays a certain position that's pretty much been taken, and he's shown to struggle a little bit playing in the outfield. But obviously having young talent, you look at the Braves and what they've done with the guys that have came up through their minor league system, young talent that you can develop. Obviously, I think it's a little harder to develop talent in New York and in Queens, simply because of the expectations. And if you don't do well right away, there's going to be a lot of grumbling from the fans and a lot of stuff like that. But to be able to replenish the minor league system, if you're going to do it, it would, I guess that's a good way to go about trying to build for the future. Obviously, everybody thought the future was now, but maybe you need to take a step back a little bit to regroup, and hopefully they have scored some guys that are going to be able to help the club. And if not help the club within the next year or two, maybe they are a part of a trade in the years coming that can get you big league ready talent or big league veteran talent in return come another trade deadline or during the season next year. That's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, like Billy Epler said, it's a little pain for a lot of gain. It's a cliche that he came up with. We got to go through these hard games that we're watching now, for hopefully a lot of gain that maybe,
Right.
and as you know, not all prospects turn out the way that they should, and some do. We don't know if Acuna, who the Mets traded for, with Scherzer, is going to be anything. Sure, looks like it, but they did what they had to do, and yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow as Met fans. But on to talking about 2024. Um, I had I had a question for you, only because it made me think. Brett Beatty was just sent down
Yeah.
uh, earlier,
Mm-hmm.
and I understand it. He was hitting like a buck 20 in his last 40 games, and not hitting well and actually having problems on defense. And he's one of the baby Mets, and he started off well, and he hasn't been doing well, and sent back down. Never thought in a million years that would happen to AAA in Syracuse. So talking to you, who came that um, things didn't go well. Obviously your story and Beatty's are not identical, but if you were in Beatty's shoes, you could talk about yourself as well if it applies to it. But how would you take it if you were Brett Beatty, or how did you take it maybe in your career when you're this big star, you come up, third base is yours, and in your first rookie season you don't perform, and the games are meaningless now up, in terms of standings in 2023, and now you're sent down to the minors again. And I heard all the quotes, take a breath, you know, but as a former player who was a highly touted guy like yourself, how would you go about this?
Well, I tell you, I'm sure he's not real happy about it. Nobody's ever happy when they get sent down to the minor leagues or released or anything like that. I wonder, because when I watch him play, when he's doing his best at the plate, is when he's hitting the ball to left center field. I wonder how much he's being talked about hitting the ball over the right field wall, which I don't think is his strength. I think that what's probably from the time he picked up a bat and swung the ball, he naturally could hit the ball well to left center field and left field. I know in this day and age of baseball that the pressure about hitting home runs and hitting the ball in the air. I saw him. What I saw him just in the last few games was taking pitches that were out over the plate, taking them where those are the pitches that he wants to be hitting, the balls that are on the outer half of home plate. I wonder how much there's been a change in philosophy. Maybe there hasn't. I don't know. But I just know that in the past, even we'll use the Cardinals as an example. They set down one of their young rookies earlier in the year because he wasn't hitting the ball in the air enough, even though he was hitting like 270 something, which is unheard
Jordan
of.
Walker.
That's ridiculous to tell me that a rookie hitting 270 something is going to get sent down because he's not hitting the ball in the air enough. That's just, I don't know. I guess that's analytic stuff that's above my baseball knowledge for playing for as long as I did. The guys that didn't play telling you that's good. I don't get it. But I do have a gripe with him. I'd like to see him play a game without gum in his mouth. Maybe try that one time. Maybe I know I talk about little stupid, simple things like the jerseys and that, but to me, take the gum out of your mouth for a couple of games and see how you play. You have to use brain. I'm using brain power right now to move my mouth in order to get these words out. If you haven't tried playing without gum, try playing without gum. I didn't see him do that. I saw him with gum in his mouth every single night, struggling. When you're out of it, why are we sending him down? Why not give him a shot to try to work things out? This is what, and I'll use this as an example in my career, is right around the time that I got injured. Go ahead. Right around the time that I got injured.
Oh no, you're go on. Yeah.
Yeah, right around the time that I got injured, we actually ended up having the second best record in the National League in the second half of 1995, when the team had been struggling and coming out of the quote unquote worst team that money can buy days. And then I came back in 97. I missed 97, and that's when I started to have my anxiety and depression issues. But in 98, I came back, and that's right around the time that the Yankees started to win every year. So the thing that's tough about playing in Queens is because you have the guys across town that are expected to win on a yearly basis. The Mets have that same type of pressure to try to win on a yearly basis. That's what, to me, makes it that much more difficult to develop young talent in Queens, because if you do struggle right away, one, you're going to hear it from the fans, and two, you're probably going to get sent down. Where I look across the league and I see some of these numbers going across the guys, the tickers going across the television, and I see a guy who's 6-13 with a 7.1 ERA, and he's starting tonight. That means that this guy's still getting his opportunity. He's probably a young pitcher, and he's getting to work it out. He's getting to work it out in Kansas City or work it out in whatever smaller market team that it is. Unfortunately, in New York, that's not the case. So Beatty's kind of finding that out right now. You don't get a chance to work things out in a big market and on a team that's expected to win. So a little bit of a surprise for him to be sent down now. I would expect him to be back up before the year is over. Maybe it is just to take a little breath, to get away from the spotlight a little bit and then bring him back up here.
Yep.
Because I think if you look at him for the future, which they definitely are, you got to get him some more at bats back up here, because he's definitely questioning himself. We're human beings as Major League Baseball players, as athletes. We're human beings. We question ourselves, and the more you question yourself, the more difficult it becomes. So hopefully it's just a brief stint down there and they get him back up here and try to get him rolling in the right direction heading into the off season, so he can feel good about himself and feel good about himself going into spring training next year.
Yeah. I understand kind of why they did it. I just sometimes drift off to just let him take his lumps here. I know maybe, Brett has been open. We don't know what goes on behind closed doors. So we'll let that be that.
Yep.
And like you said, I do expect him to be back up here.
I would think so.
September call-ups and whatnot. I wanted to bring up a question that or person that I am very passionate about. I've been open on Twitter, both on Say Hello and my main Twitter, about Buck Showalter. And this goes back to even last year when the Mets won 101 games. And that's hard to do when they were winning series after series. And it was like Buck could do no wrong, because obviously when you're winning, that, just takes away everything else. It just hides it
Right.
all. I'm going to keep it brief because I could go on forever, and I want to get your take. Buck, for me, and you're a former player, and you've 19 years professionally, and you watch this game now intently, and you have a different perspective than any of us. Buck, it starts from the top, and there is no fire from Buck. And I'm not saying that a manager, you have to have fire like a Brett Boone, it seems like Brett Boone is getting ejected with the Yankees every day and putting on a show and dance. But I'm not talking down on Buck because of how bad the Mets are doing this year. I was doing it last year. The Mets set the MLB record in terms of being hit by a pitch. Buck never got ejected once last year, just by happenstance. That should happen. And you guys are being drilled, and you literally set an MLB record, and he's not getting ejected once. And winning takes care of a lot of things. I get that. And he's been tossed a couple times this year. But you could just see that, he never talks down on any of his players. We're proud this, and we're 10-0, to the Royals or whatever. Buck is a 500 career manager who has never sniffed the World Series, gone anywhere in the LCS. Every team he leaves, they do well after him. I see no fire from him. I understand he's a very smart, intelligent, encyclopedia, baseball guru. Players love playing for him, which is a really big thing. I get that. But at a certain point, it starts from your manager. And I'm not saying go throw a chair, punch a water cooler, but you got to protect your players. You got to show fire yourself, because I haven't seen that from his tenure as a Met. So I will now segue to your thoughts on Buck. And, you played for Bobby Valentine, who had a lot of fire. So what is your thoughts on Buck?
I hate to say this, but I do kind of agree with you on quite a bit of that. I hate to disrespect Buck Showalter. He's been a baseball man for a very long time. I often wonder, is he biting his tongue and just rolling with the punches a little bit? And look, I was a wild child and all that, but I think that the different colored belts, the different colored spikes, and it's not just one player, it's many players, the different gloves every night, and I'm not picking on Lindor because Alonso's guilty of it. The guys that are wearing cleats that have nothing to do with the colors of the uniform. These are all things that I know Buck Showalter would not have stood for, and not just when he was the Yankees manager, where you don't see these kinds of things at all with that organization. So it makes me wonder how much he's had to bite his tongue or change his approach to how things were done in the past to deal with the quote unquote new baseball player. It seems sometimes a little bit like maybe the inmates are running the asylum a little bit. I don't know. I mean, I'm not behind closed doors there, but I just know that I would suspect a little bit more fire. I would think that, I know when I played, if our guys were getting drilled and the pitchers weren't doing something about it, there was going to be some animosity between the position players and the pitching staff. And you never want that kind of stuff going on. So maybe that is an issue in the clubhouse that's not talked about. But I would like to see some more fire. I would like to see some more getting on guys that need to be got on a little bit. Now, behind closed doors, you could be picking them up in that or whatever it may be, or at least, who knows, maybe behind closed doors he is getting on them. But I don't believe that to be true. I hate to say that you got to fire a manager because you never want to see that happen. But something just doesn't seem right. And I brought it up on Twitter the other night with the warming up prior to the game. I've been to 3 games in the past 2 years, and only one guy is out there on the field prior to the game starting. And I know in my day, and even because I know that I was there watch the Rockies play in May, and their whole team was out there warming up, doing their sprints, doing their stretching, playing their catch after batting practice. And the Mets, I didn't see them other than one guy until the smoke started coming out of the dugout, because some reason we need smoke to come out of the dugout before we run out onto the field. I think in 20 years ago, Buck Showalter would have told you where to put that smoke. You know what I'm saying? So I think maybe his hands are tied a little bit, that the show has to be something that it's not. Baseball used to be good enough when the guys ran out of the dugout. You didn't need smoke, or it's not a concert or whatever. It's a baseball game. I was very taken aback by the guys not being out on the line and warming up. What are they doing in the clubhouse? The game's played on the field. So I don't know if Buck doesn't have a say in that, and this is the way it's going to be, or if he's just decided this is the way it's going to be and I don't have a problem with it. So that's kind of a strange thing there to me, so there's obviously a disconnect somewhere. I'm not going to say Buck Showalter needs to be fired, but obviously some things need to change with the approach. I mean, how many games do they come out and they're down right away? We're down. I mean, I remember earlier in the year they were talking about how many consecutive games in a row they've given up runs in the first inning. Well, surprise, nobody's ready to play. What are they doing? What are they doing in the clubhouse? I know they have the training room, the weight room, they have all these things, but you're not running. You're not doing high knees. You're not doing back pedal. You're not playing catch with your buddy. And now I had some guy tell me that they rarely even take batting practice on the field. So when are we taking ground balls? When are we taking fly balls? When are we doing the things that they've been doing in baseball for 150 years? When is that stuff happening? On a semi-daily basis? Baseball's an everyday grind. You get out there and you do your certain things every single day, and that's what you do. Baseball is repetition. Baseball is we do things over and over and over and over and over the same way. And if it's not working, then we make a tweak to it, and then we continue to do that. So something isn't meshing correctly. And I don't know if it's because he's not allowed to say anything and the analytics have really taken over, or if he's just changed. But something's different. Something's changed.
Yeah. There's a lot behind closed doors that we just don't know, so
100%.
maybe what we see on television, doesn't make the whole story, but I can only, and you can only go by what we see, obviously. And I'm just going off about what I see. And obviously in 2022, winning takes care of a lot of different things, but I've saw it last year. Buck was losing games for the Mets, but the energy that they had, was helping. They would come back. They win games. Buck doesn't know how to manage a bullpen. Sorry, I said it. Buck can't manage a bullpen.
I'm not saying anything about that. I'm just. I'll say
And,
this.
and if
I'll
you
say
don't
that
have any comment on that, that's
I don't.
yeah. I
I
didn't
don't.
think.
I'm not gonna go that far to step on that man's toes. He's obviously managed a lot more baseball games than I have. We all have our thoughts. I will say this about the guys not going out on the field. If that was something that started last year, over time, the more time you get to yourself to be complacent, the more complacent you're going to become. So if that is the case, that they're not taking batting practice on a regular basis, maybe guys were more inclined to do a little bit more prior to games last year. And as it gets more and more games away from us doing certain things, maybe we're more easy to go, you know what, I'm going to sit around in my chair for just a little bit longer before I go out there or do whatever it is, go to the weight room, go to the trainer's room, whatever it may be, because I don't know what they have underneath the stadium now. I know they don't have another field underneath the stadium, so they're not going and taking ground balls or playing catch. But I would say maybe over time, the complacency, and I was told that the analytics guys came up with this idea. That's a bad idea to follow. I think that's just not how baseball's. And like I said, the more time you have to your own devices, the more time you're going to say, you know what, I can sit here and have one more Coca-Cola. I can make another sandwich. Next thing you know, it's 7:15 and I haven't done anything, or it's 6:50 and I haven't done anything and the game's about to start. And if Buck's not and they're policing the clubhouse, which I'm sure he isn't, and who knows what's going on.
Yeah, we don't. All we know is that they don't show up in the first inning, like you said, and I think there's a reason for it, but we
100%.
don't know exactly what's going on in the clubhouse right before the game starts. So we'll leave it at that. We'll end the episode number 2 of this Say Hello podcast on this question for Bill Pulsipher. People want to know, what are you up to these days? 19 years professionally pitching, obviously, 6 years in the bigs. What have you been up to? What are you up to, these days with your family? I know you got some sports DNA that has done pretty well. Just tell us what you want to tell us about, life as Bill Pulsipher now as a retired professional baseball player.
Well, I played until 2011. I was playing in Taiwan. I was playing in Mexico. I played in the Atlantic League up until 2011, and then I retired unceremoniously, obviously. But then my brother-in-law, he was in the road construction field and got me a job over there with him. And over the years, I've worked my way into, I'm now a traffic control supervisor, which I'm the guy out there that's ruining your traffic out on Long Island, setting lane closures up for the company that I work for.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. I try to do it as good as possible to try to keep everybody moving, but I've been doing that for years now. I also give pitching lessons, in the fall and winter time, a little bit in the summer, but the summertime, it's a little bit difficult because when the guys are pitching on a weekly basis, there's not a lot of lessons going on, but I give pitching lessons out on Long Island. I have my wife, Michelle, my son, Liam and Layton. Liam just graduated from college. He went to Queens College and played baseball there. And he's looking to try to continue his career a little bit. He's got some work to do. He's working on it. My youngest is he's supposed to be at Central Connecticut State playing baseball, but he's had a lot of injury issues. And unfortunately, I'm not sure he's going to be able to continue his path in baseball, which is killing me. But because he was very, very talented ball player too. but they both got to win state titles coming up through high school, which was cool. Something I never got to do. But just living the life of a Long Islander, and making traffic for people and living the dream, man. They say nightmares are dreams too. So sometimes they're good dreams, and sometimes they're bad dreams, but living the dream.
We're all caught up on what we're doing now. Sounds good to me. Just keep the traffic moving, my friend. That's all we ask.
Hey, I will say this: pay attention to the big orange signs that are on the side of the road as you're driving up to a traffic, a detour. It will help you, because if I got a right lane closed and you're riding that right lane all the way up, they start a mile back. They'll let you know where to go. We can all help each other out. Go ahead and get over as soon as you see those signs. Pay attention to those signs. I know a lot of people don't listen, don't look at them, or don't pay attention to them, but I definitely think that can help the traffic move. Obviously, there's a lot of people in New York, a lot of people in Long Island. So anytime you're taking lanes out, it's gonna ruin somebody's day for a little bit. But the more we can pay attention to the signs that are out there, the more that you can get over early enough, and you can hopefully not be that guy that's getting over right at the end, getting honked at or yelling and cussing at each other.
Well, here on the Say Hello podcast, you get all baseball, Mets, and now tips on how to avoid traffic jams.
How to avoid traffic, exactly.
You get it all. Who
It's
knows
not a bad
what's gonna
combination.
happen in episode 3. I think the traffic updates is a good way to put a bow on episode 2 of the Say Hello podcast. I want to thank my co-host, Bill Pulsipher, for joining us today. And for everybody watching on YouTube, please subscribe at Say Hello Media on YouTube. And of course, wherever you get your podcasts, that's where we'll be, on Apple, Spotify, and of course, follow us on Instagram at Shay Hello Media, TikTok, Shay Hello Media, and of course, Twitter at Shay_Hello. I had fun, Bill. Until next time, we'll see what happens here in the next week with the Mets. But it's definitely been a good start to the podcast venture here on Say Hello. And now I'm going to go right down to
you there just a little bit at the end, but I appreciate it. Thanks for doing this. Let's hopefully we can continue having some good discussions, and hopefully the Mets play well this week, because I think it's very important for them to play well the rest of the season, because you want to go into the winter with a good taste in your mouth, and hopeful of what things to come next year as well.
Absolutely agree. So on that note, thanks again to Bill, co-host of Say Hello, the Say Hello podcast. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us wherever you get your podcasts. And once again, thanks for watching or listening or both. And once again, have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.